Good morning, students. We are on chapter 3, the cell, and the topic for today is structure of a cell. Till now, we have studied about the discovery of the cell, cells of different shape, size, and number. So let us begin. Basic structure of a cell. Even though we have studied that cells vary in their shape and size, but their basic structure remain almost the same. Whether the cell is of any shape, size or number, the basic structure of the cell will be same or similar. A cell is like a tiny container bounded by a membrane called cell membrane or plasma membrane. If you look in this diagram, there are two types of cell represented over here. One is animal cell and one is plant cell. And both the cells are of similar structure. That is, they are looking like a container. And the outer covering of the container or the cell of both the types is called cell membrane or plasma membrane. As you can see the second labeling in the diagram. In both the type of cell, the outer covering is called the cell membrane. It is filled with a jelly-like substance called protoplasm. Now, the yellow portion which you can see in both the cell, it is called protoplasm. It is a jelly-like substance, and this protoplasm is divided into two parts. If we consider the diagram of animal cell over here, the two parts are very clearly visible. The inner denser part is called the nucleus, the third labeling, and the second part is called the cytoplasm. As you can see in the diagram, the protoplasm, it is the jelly-like substance. It is divided into two parts. One part is nucleus, the inner denser part, and the outer part is called cytoplasm, which is again a jelly-like substance, and it contains cell organelles. What are cell organelles? We are going to study later. The main components of a typical cell are cell membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus, and cell organelles. Cell membrane or plasma membrane. Cell is bounded by a thin, delicate skin-like membrane called the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. We have already discussed about the cell membrane or plasma membrane. It allows only selective substances to pass through it. So this cell membrane, the second labeling again, it allows selective substances to pass through it. This layer will only allow few substances to go inside the cell. It will not allow all the substances or material to pass through it. Hence, it is called selectively permeable membrane. That is why cell membrane is also called as selectively permeable membrane, which means that it allows only selective substances to pass through it. It is elastic in nature and enable the cell to stretch to some extent. This cell membrane is somewhat stretchable. It is elastic in nature, and cell can stretch to some extent because of this characteristics of cell membrane. Functions of cell membrane. First function is it gives a definite shape to the cell. Now consider the diagram again. Cell membrane is the outer layer of the cell, and it gives the cell a particular or definite shape. This is one function of cell membrane. Over here the shape of the cell is like a container. It controls the movement of material in and out of the cell. Second function is that it controls movement of material. What material is going inside the cell and what material is coming outside the cell. It is controlled by cell membrane or plasma membrane. And the last function, it provides protection to the internal components of the cell from injury. Just like our skin protects our internal organ of the body, similarly this cell membrane is the outer skin of the cell which protect the inner components of the cell. Now we will discuss about cell wall, which is found only in plant cell. A plant cell has an additional protective wall around the cell membrane, and which is called as cell wall. Coming back to the diagram, now look on the diagram B, plant cell. Now there are two layers present in the plant cell. One we have already discussed, cell membrane, and one more on top of cell membrane there is one more layer that is called cell wall. Now we will study about this cell wall, which is only found in plant cell, but we don't find it in animal cell. The cell wall is non-living. Alright, it is non-living structure. It is permeable, that it allows free passage of substances through it. Unlike cell membrane, it allows only selective substances to pass through it. The cell wall allows all the substances to pass through it. This is made up of complex carbohydrate called cellulose. The cell wall is made up of complex carbohydrates, which is called cellulose. Functions of cell wall. It gives a definite shape to the plant cell. Now, because cell wall is found only in plant cell, so what is the function of it? It gives definite shape to the plant cell. It provides strength and rigidity to the cell. It does not only give shape to the cell but also give strength to the cell. It makes the cell more strong and rigid or firm. So again there is a diagram which is representing plant cell, in which you can see cell wall outer covering. You can also see the cell membrane, the inner layer, and you can see cytoplasm over here, plasma membrane, everything, and all the cell organelles are also clearly visible over here, which we will study later in the lesson. Now here is a difference table between cell wall and cell membrane. Cell wall location, it is the outermost thick protective layer of a cell, and cell membrane, it is the outer covering of the protoplasm in a cell. Occurrence, cell wall, it is found only in bacterial and plant cell. Cell membrane, it is found both in plant and animal cell. Cell wall, living or non-living, it is non-living, whereas cell membrane, it is living. Cell wall permeability, it is permeable and allow free passage of substances through it, whereas cell membrane, it is selectively permeable and allow only selective substances to pass through it. Now we will study about the second part of the protoplasm, which is nucleus. I have already told you there are two parts of protoplasm. One is the nucleus, the inner denser part, and the outer one is cytoplasm. So the first part of the protoplasm we will discuss now, that is the nucleus. The nucleus is the control center of the cell. Can you see nucleus in this diagram? If you see in animal cell, the center orange part, it is very clearly visible. This is the nucleus. As well as in plant cell, you can see the round spherical brownish part, it represents the nucleus. So what is the shape of the nucleus? It is roughly oval or spherical in shape. It is surrounded by double membrane called nuclear membrane. Now nucleus is having two-layered membrane, and the name of the membrane is nuclear membrane. The nuclear membrane encloses a colorless, dense fluid called nucleoplasm. Inside the nucleus, this orange portion which you can see, it is called nucleoplasm, and it is again a jelly-like substance. Nucleoplasm contain thread-like structures called chromatin network. Now inside that jelly-like substance of nucleus, there are small or large thread-like structure. They can be of any length. That is called chromatin network. When a cell divides, it forms a thread-like small structure called chromosomes. Now, when cell division takes place, cell division we will also study in this chapter. That is the last topic of the chapter. Cell division means when a cell divide or split, when a single cell split into two parts, and again those two parts split into two more parts, and it keeps going on. This is called cell division, and cell division results in the growth of the organism. So when a cell divides, it forms a thread-like small structure called chromosome. Now these chromatin network, which are large thread-like structures inside the nucleoplasm, when a cell divides, they break into small thread-like structure which are called chromosomes. And the chromosomes carry genes which are responsible for the hereditary character passed from parent cell to the new cell. And what does the chromosome carry on them? They are having genes on them. We look similar to our parents. Why? Because from our parents, the chromosome has carried their genes in our body. And what is genes carrying with it? It is carrying all the characters of our parents to us. If Like if I give you an example of eye color, if either of the parent is having eye color of blue color, there are 90% chances that the offspring or the child will also be having blue color eyes, because who has carried that character of eye color, blue eye color, from parent to the child? Genes. So genes are called the carrier of hereditary character. Functions of nucleus. The nucleus controls all the vital activity of the cell. It is thus called control center of the cell. All the major functions inside the cell is carried by nucleus. Just like we have brain is the most important part of our body. What is the most important part of the cell? It is the nucleus. This is called control center of the cell. It is the carrier of hereditary character from parents to the offspring. It plays an important role in cell division as well. So these are the functions of nucleus. So thank you students, that's all for today. This chapter will be continued, and do revise the topic, clear your doubts if any, and have a good day.